Go up about 5 miles after Bud's Bar.
Yeah.
Keep going. Don't stop at Bud's Bar.
Treasurer lives not too far.
Oh, does he? Yeah, he does live out there. Yeah.
That's a nice place to live.
It's nice.
You can walk to Camp
Yeah. It's
Last time I was up there, just amazed.
it's like, go away.
All right, I was just reminded not to get this caught in the lawnmower. I said, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's good.
Yeah, thanks for moving that a bit. You know, what you did is well, what's our picking schedule on that? That's always.
It's always, I've noticed that's always.
You know, you make deals, you can't always make a payment right away.
He was just.
Mitch, how you doing? I'm good, good to see you.
I don't.
I don't like that one either. There we go. Gotta play musical chairs.
That's okay. Get one that you like.
That's right.
Hey, Drew. Do you mind if we move this? Yeah, I sent you a text.
Oh, you
Just
did?
It causes a slight reflection.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, we just put it
Okay.
down somewhere. Yeah, sure. Cool. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Troy, your host. We are live and recording.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to convene Board of County Commissioners Land Use Meeting public hearing for Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. If you'll all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Attorney Pratt, do we have certification of today's agenda?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Chris Pratt with the County Attorney's Office. All the items on today's agenda have been reviewed, have been properly noticed, and you have legal jurisdiction to hear them today.
Thank you. And do any commissioners have disclosures for items on this agenda today?
I have none.
No, sir.
And I have done either. So with that, we'll move to item 2, our land use meeting agenda items. There are no items in this arena today, so we will move down to item 3, which is our public hearing agenda items. Item 3A is Pinery Meadows Plan Development Rezoning, project file ZR 2022-028. Mike Pasica, Principal Planner, presenting for staff. And that isn't Mike either. That's
is not.
Kurt. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Kurt Whiteconide in for Mike Pasica today. So, this here. There we go. All right, before you is the request for the Pinery Meadows Plan Development rezoning. The project number is ZR 2022-028. Ty Robbins is here on behalf of the owners, the Kaloff family. The Pinery Meadows Plan Development, or PD, proposes 170 single-family units on 11.33 acres in PA1, pardon me, for a density of approximately 6.9 dwelling units to the acre and an overall density of 4.3 DUs to the acre. There will be 15 acres of open space in planning area 2, and we'll show you an exhibit here in a little bit. The intent of the process for the plan development rezoning is to encourage an innovative and creative design and to facilitate the mix of use in the development of a balanced community, including residential, business, commercial, recreational, open space, and other selected secondary units and uses in accordance with Section 2467-101 of the Colorado Revised Statutes. An overview of the process here begins with submittal of an application. Following a review period by referral agencies and the public, notices given for the public hearings before the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. During the referral period, the Pinery HOA was the HOA that responded to the referral request, and their comments focused on traffic, maintaining community character, enhancing community separation buffer, protecting views, preserving wildlife habitat, and ensuring any new development is compatible with the character of the original Pinery PD. One response from the public was received during the courtesy notice and referral period and is included as an attachment within your staff report. The Planning Commission heard this proposal at its public hearing on January 23rd of 2023 and unanimously recommended approval by a vote of 5-0. The Planning Commission had extensive discussion regarding the number of proposed units and location of the single-family attached versus the detached units along the northern property boundary of the property. In response to the discussion, the applicant proposed two changes to the PD before you. The first was to reduce the maximum number of units from 196 to 170, and the second was to only allow detached single-family lots along the northern boundary of the property adjacent to the Pinery West Filing 2 subdivision. The proposed changes will be made to the PD exhibit if the application is approved by the Board of County Commissioners. And that's where you'll see those conditions at the end of the staff report. Here. Two members of the public testified, one in person, one online, against the application. Concerns raised against the request were not limited to increased traffic, impacts to the wildlife, impacts from noise that would be generated by the proposal, and the incompatibility with adjacent single-family residential development. Let's take a look. The red star shows the general vicinity, which is right off of Highway, to the west of Highway 83. We'll look in here at the zoning, zooming in a little bit more here. Highway 83, it is across from the Pinery Plan Development, is in the center here, and hopefully I can get my mouse just right there with the red square. Scott Avenue to the south, and Highway 83 running kind of through the center part of the map. There. Let me go back to the zoning. Sorry, I forgot to talk about that. The site is Ag 1, highlighted in red, about 800 feet northwest of Scott Avenue and 83. The PD zoning abuts the site on all sides. The Pinery PD is to the north and east, and the Scott Avenue residential development to the south, and the Cross Creek development is to the west. Now we'll take a look at the area. Even zooming in a little bit more, the development to the north is the Pinery West subdivision. State Highway 83, as I mentioned before, abuts the property on the east. And the Cherry Creek 100-year floodplain covers roughly 1/3 of the property on its western side. And that's delineated by the blue hatched in the aerial photo here. This property has been zoned agricultural since the inception of county zoning in 1955 and really has not changed much since then. The parcel has historically been used for various agricultural purposes. There are no existing structures on the parcel. In May of 2022, a CMP land use map was accomplished to include the property in the Pinery Separated Urban Area and was approved by the Planning Commission in May of 2022. Per the 2040 CMP, urban level development is generally characterized by residential uses at a gross density of greater than 1 unit per 2.5 acres. Commercial, business, and industrial zoning, including uses within the planned development that are of similar scale and character, are also considered to be urban. Excuse me there. This is a excerpt from the development plan within the PD shown here. North is on the far side there, or on the upper side. Open space, parks, and floodplain are in planning area 2 on the west side to help preserve wildlife habitat in riparian areas and the Cherry Creek floodplain. Residential development and local parks are proposed in planning area 1. Access is proposed from the future Pinery Center Boulevard, which will pretty much bisect the property north to south. There will be no direct access to State Highway 83. Here's some highlights of the plan from the plan development. Planning Area 1 allows for 170 single-family detached and attached units on 24.5 acres for a density of 6.9 dwelling units per acre. Other permitted uses in this area include open space, trails, parks, playgrounds, neighborhood and private recreational facilities, temporary sales and construction offices that typically occur. Planning Area 2 allows for an environmental and historic education museum for the display of items relevant to the site, nature center, picnic areas, trails, and open space on approximately 15 acres. Also highlight some of the development, the PD commitments that are coming with this. And they include a financial contribution of $500 per dwelling unit that will go towards regional park and trail improvements to be paid prior to the final plat or final SIP as it may be. Open space, park, and school dedication, cash in lieu of land prior to approval of a final plat. Construction of the extension of Pinery Center Boulevard from its current terminus to Scott Avenue. Also, a pro rata contribution towards traffic signals at Scott Avenue and State Highway 83, and a 50% share towards traffic signals at Scott Avenue and Pinery Center Boulevard, which is on the north side. Take a look at some site views here for you. The site looks west from State Highway 83 near the northern boundary of the parcel. So those houses you see on the left are the Pinery West subdivision that are referenced. The trees in the middle generally are in the location of Cherry Creek and its associated floodplain. Once again, taking a look to the west from State Highway 83, kind of more along the center of the parcel, middle parcel. And this is taking a view to the west again from the southern end of the parcel here. The trees to the on the right side are the previous Scott Avenue PD site there. Pardon me, the trees on the left, sorry. The approval standards for a PD rezoning are set forth in section 15 and they are summarized on this slide here. The approval standards are discussed within your staff report on pages 9 through 12. Staff evaluated the plan development rezoning request in accordance with section 15 of the zoning resolution. Should the board find that the approval standards have been met, staff proposes the following conditions. Condition number 1, prior to recordation, all minor technical corrections be made to the Pinery plan development, to the plan development document to the satisfaction of Douglas County. Condition number 2, prior to recordation to the plan development document, it shall be revised to reflect a reduction in the maximum number of dwelling units to 170. And condition number 3, prior to recordation, the plan development document shall be revised to reflect that no attached single-family units shall be allowed allowed along the north property boundary that abuts the Pinery West Filing Number 2 subdivision. And finally, number 4, all commitments and promises made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the hearing or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. And finally, Section 150509 sets forth the parameters for the board's action on the PD rezoning request itself. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available to take any questions from the board at this time. Otherwise, Ty Robbins from Norris Design is here as well and has a presentation.
Kurt, thank you for that. Any questions for staff?
I have none, thank you.
No, sir.
I have a couple, but I'll hold mine until the applicant is done with his presentation. The applicant would like to come forward and just state where you're from and your address, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mitch Black with Norris Design. And just briefly, Ty's going to get up and present the project in a moment. But introducing the team, David Meyerowitz is the applicant on this property with Alphabet Investments. So we worked with David on other projects currently and have over the years. Roth Lang is our civil engineer on this project. LSC's been doing traffic work on this project. So we have a team that's been studying this for a while already. Gone through the comp plan amendment with the Planning Commission. We're successful there, which was great to see how that really our stage is set before us to try to make this property fit in since we know what all is going around us on all edges at this point, whether it's been fairly recent to changes over the past. So with that, we'll be able to then answer any questions you have, and so I'll have Ty walk through kind of application this evening, this afternoon.
Great. Thank you, Mitch. Hello, Commissioners. My name is Ty Robbins, Norris Design. Thank you in advance for your time this afternoon.
Just let me know.
All right. So first, just want to give a general overview of this PD zoning application and cover a few of the key components here. So this PD application provides a development framework for single-family residential development. There's 2 planning areas being established. Planning area 1 is the single-family planning area that's towards the east side, that's shaded in yellow there on the map. And then planning area 2 is the open space area that's about 15 acres there towards the west side of the property. The plan establishes single-family residences as the allowed land use, and that those can be attached or detached. Uses within the open space area are much more limited, just limited to park and recreation type improvements, very low impact uses that are typical of a park and recreation site. The document also provides development standards to regulate development of the property. That includes lot size, buffers, setbacks, height, etc. And then this PD provides substantial open space. In addition to the 15-acre area within planning area 2, there's buffers on the north and the east and the south edges. So all that amounts to over 44% of the site that's being reserved as open space and or landscape buffers. With this is also the preservation of the Cherry Creek and the associated habitat in that area. And the plan also depicts the general conceptual location of the collector roadway. In this case, that's Pinery Center Boulevard, which will extend south through the property and eventually connect down to Scott Avenue. There's a noise mitigation buffer provided along Parker Road, and then there's a series of development commitments that we'll talk through here momentarily. And this is just the more technical map, technical version of the map we just saw. So again, the 2 planning areas, you'll see the collector roadway kind of bisecting the site. We've got the buffers listed on here, and then there's other detailed kind of technical and surveying information on this map as well. All right, thanks. All right, I mentioned the key commitments as part of this plan development. I mentioned there's substantial open space being provided through this plan. That's the planning area 2, 15 acres within planning area 2. There's additional park land dedication requirements, and this is an amount of land that will be calculated based on the final unit count. And that'll be fulfilled by providing on-site park improvements or by paying cash in lieu of those improvements to the county, or a combination of the two. There's an additional park, recreation, and trails contribution of $500 per lot, and that's to be paid to the county, which will use those funds at its discretion to expand park and recreation opportunities in the county. That's actually a condition of approval from our comp plan amendment that's now being reaffirmed and further memorialized through this zoning document. I also mentioned the noise mitigation that's provided through a significant buffer and building setback along Parker Road. We're providing buffers to adjacent properties along the north and the south property lines. And then there's infrastructure improvements, including the construction of Pinery Center Boulevard, internal public roadways, water and sanitary sewer utilities, drainage improvements, etc. The plan also shows the general location of a future well site for the Pinery Water and Wastewater District. That's over towards the west side of the property. And then finally, there's a commitment for a cash in lieu fee to be paid to Douglas County Schools to offset the impact of additional students generated as part of this development. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so that's just an overview of the PD zoning document. We'll turn now to the approval criteria, which you all are familiar with. So we'll acknowledge each of these and touch on each of these here briefly, starting with 150301. Next slide, please. This is regarding consistency with the zoning resolution and comprehensive plan. We can go to the next slide. Sure, thank you. So this zoning document advances several stated goals within the comp plan as it relates to development within the Pinery separated urban area. We've already described the various open space, parks, and recreation contributions and commitments this zoning is providing, and therefore advancing the provision of parks, trails, and recreational facilities. Objective 2-6A, the zoning facilitates residential uses in an area that is surrounded by existing residences or land that is zoned for future residential development. Objective 2-6D, the zoning will facilitate residential development that will advance site and architectural variety and provide additional housing choices in Douglas County. The next one is similar, to allow for housing variety and expanded housing and lifestyle options in the county. Objective 2-9A regarding services and infrastructure. There are existing services and infrastructure either in place or available, or will be constructed to complete the puzzle, so to speak, or fill missing gaps or links in this area, making key infrastructure connections, again, through the collector roadway, utilities, sidewalk connections, etc. Objective 2-A, supporting the logical build-out of separated urban areas. This zoning will allow for development that is appropriate to the area and is a very logical build-out of the separated urban area, which again in this area consists either of existing or future residential development surrounding this property. We've already talked about the amount of open space being provided, as well as the preservation of the Cherry Creek corridor and the natural habitat associated with that corridor. So we're supporting the county's goal in this area as well. Objective 8-6A, again, we are implementing noise mitigation through substantial buffering along Parker Road. And then finally, Objective 5-1B.1 speaks for itself. Again, we are proposing residential in the middle of existing residential, completing a very logical pattern of development in this area. All right, next please, thank you. 150302, we have worked extensively with staff and other reviewing agencies to ensure full compliance with applicable zoning procedures and requirements. 150303 considers whether there has been a substantial change in the character of the neighborhood since the land was last zoned, which in this case was in 1955 when it was given an agricultural zoning designation. And since that time, the area of the county has seen substantial change, not only with development activity that has occurred and is ongoing, but also with the adoption of the comprehensive master plan and the establishment of the Pinery separated urban area. Most recently, within the past year or so, this property and much of the surrounding property was incorporated into the Pinery SUA. And then everything around it is zoned and has been zoned planned development, as we saw in a prior exhibit that Kurt provided. So based on all these changes, we feel that a change in zoning is very much warranted and appropriate for this area in order to allow opportunity to develop this land for residential uses in accordance with the vision and guidance provided in the comp plan and the Pinery SUA. All right, 150304 regarding availability of public facilities and services. Next slide, please. So through the rezoning process, we've worked with a number of agencies to confirm and verify availability of all public services and facilities. That includes the Pinery Water and Wastewater District, which provided a will serve letter confirming capacity and availability to serve this property. The South Metro Fire Rescue District also provided a will serve letter. Douglas County Schools provided a no objection letter, subject to payment of fees to offset any impacts to the school district. We've already covered the significant contributions towards park and recreation facilities. And then transportation infrastructure is available and adequate to serve the property. And this PD has also committed to transportation improvements, including the construction of Pinery Center Boulevard and monetary contributions to traffic signals in the vicinity. All right, 1503.05 deals with roadway capacity. We've submitted a traffic study as part of this PD zoning application, which has concluded that existing and proposed traffic and roadway improvements are adequate to serve the development and that all intersections will continue to operate at acceptable levels of service. All right, 1503.06 deals with compatibility to surrounding land uses. We can go to the next slide. In considering land uses, this PD allows single-family residential on land that is surrounded, again, by residential land uses, both existing and proposed, with the development standards that we're proposing, including height, setbacks, buffers, and open space. Those are incorporated to achieve integration and compatibility with existing neighborhoods. We're also limiting homes that are directly abutting the Pinery West subdivision to our north to single-family detached homes to help with a good transition from those existing homes. Again, provision of substantial open space and preservation of Cherry Creek, further demonstrating compatibility with the natural environment as well. And then we're expanding mobility and multimodal connections for further integration into surrounding developments. We've touched on the noise mitigation. So all these factors are specifically intended to achieve a high-quality residential subdivision that is a logical continuation of residential development in the Pinery SUA and in this area. All right, next is 1503.07, whether the land is suitable for the intended use. I believe we've demonstrated the land is in fact suitable for the intended single-family neighborhood. It is compatible with both the built and natural environment. 1503.08, the application does in fact comply with all requirements of the Douglas County zoning resolution. 1503.09, the PD provides for unified development control under a unified plan as provided by this PD zoning document. And then finally, as stated, the Pinery Water and Wastewater District has provided a will serve letter and stated a willingness and availability to serve this property. So we are fulfilling 1503.10. All right, next, just wanted to recap quickly our community outreach and neighborhood meeting summary. We've held 2 neighborhood meetings throughout the process. The first occurred prior to our Planning Commission hearing for the Comprehensive Plan Amendment, and then a second neighborhood meeting held earlier this year. Of course, this is our second public hearing to consider this rezoning application. And we've also had continuous and ongoing interaction with members of the public throughout the process. We've always made it a point to be available and transparent through the process, so I just want to reiterate and restate that commitment here again. And then next, just a quick snapshot of the overall review process. Again, we're in the rezoning phase through the preliminary plan and final plat, which are forthcoming. We'll be reviewing more details related to development of this property, more details with the site plan, the road and lot layout, utilities, detention, landscaping, technical engineering items, and so forth. So we have, of course, additional public processes that are involved with those items as well. All right, next is just wanted to quickly summarize. So again, this PD facilitates single-family residential while preserving substantial amounts of open space, which again amounts to over 44% of the overall site. We're expanding park and recreation opportunities, becoming well integrated into the fabric of the Pinery SUA. So we believe the zoning is appropriate and logical for the area and achieves a high level of integration with the surrounding areas, including future and existing land uses, all while expanding housing options in the county and advancing many stated goals within the comprehensive master plan as described earlier. And then lastly, so Kurt had mentioned the 4 conditions of approval. We're in agreement with all 4 of those. We are requesting one minor technical change to condition number 3. That deals with homes abutting the north property line. And again, those being restricted to detached homes to help with a transition from the Pinery West subdivision. So we believe the minor change shown as stating the units allowed as the most proximate units to the north shall be detached, not attached. So again, we hope that's just a minor technical correction, and with your support, we would propose that amendment to condition number 3. We hope that just avoids confusion or ambiguity down the road. So that wraps up our formal presentation. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for that. So let me just begin by asking if you'll accept the 4 conditions as presented.
Yes, was there questions with what we've provided with our proposed language on condition number 3, just to clarify or add specificity to it?
So let me ask staff, will there be a modification of the conditions that we've seen today based upon the presentation?
I guess what you're seeing on this slide here, the current one is as proposed by staff, and the applicant feels that this proposed language, it adds additional clarity to the condition about where the units are. We think from the staff perspective, it's clear that what we're dealing with is the north property boundary that abuts the Pinery West Filing 2 subdivision. And they want it to be as the most proximate units to the north. And I'm not sure if that adds any clarity from a staff perspective, but that's something that they've asked for the board to consider. So,
Thank you for that. I don't see a significant or material difference there either, and would probably defer to staff in terms of the current. What would the board like to do with that?
That looks okay by me.
I'm wondering if the applicant, excuse me, would like to explain why you prefer the one you've suggested.
Yeah, really what it does, it gets rid of the word along and just states as the most proximate units to. I think the intent, and everybody agrees, is the first row of homes along the north shall be detached. That's the intent of this. So we just think that adding this specificity will help just solidify that. So it avoids the term along and adds as the most proximate units to the north property boundary that abuts Pinery West. Again, I think it's a technical minor change.
So I'm okay with the proposed one because it seems it's more specific as to what you're looking for.
That's the goal, is just to be most specific, that the units that are abutting that north property line may not be attached, they shall be detached.
So since we're seeing this for the first time, let me just ask our counsel if there's any material difference that he would advise us to be cautious of.
I would say it is as you see it. There's a minor difference here. It's a matter of whether the board feels strongly about the word along rather than as the most proximate units to. I don't think there's legally a large, significant difference between those terms.
Okay. So it sounds like the board is okay with the proposed condition of approval. Am I hearing that right?
Okay by me.
Yes, the one on the screen proposed by the applicant.
Okay. So I'm okay with that as well. Are you okay with the remaining conditions?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great, thanks. So with that, are there any additional questions for the applicant?
I do have a couple of questions. The first one is about traffic. When we read through the packets, we always see concerns about traffic, and as I understand it, you are willing to contribute to two different signals, the one on Scott and 83, which would, it seems like to me, make traffic even better in the area. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so we're contributing to signal improvements at Scott Avenue and Parker Road and Scott Avenue and Pinery Center Boulevard.
Okay. I think that's important to put on the record that those changes will improve the traffic situation there. And there were two letters in the packet, one from the Pinery opposing, signed by Sonia Ayer, and an Ed and Gail Woodson were opposed. Have you, by any chance, had a conversation with either one of those?
Yeah, we have with both of those individuals, yeah, through the process. So I think they were involved in our neighborhood meetings, so we've had conversations with them. Yeah, was there...
Did you come to any resolution that they're no longer opposed?
Not specifically on that.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
So it looks like there was a letter from August 24th of 2022 from Engineering Services with regard to some revisions that were requested. At that time, engineering didn't indicate that they could support approval of the plan development, but it looks like the response is that you've revised the PD exhibit to address those comments. Is there anything else on that?
Yeah, and I don't recall the specific letter, but we worked with Douglas County Engineering and other staff extensively through the process. So the final PD document that's presented, engineering and other staff has been okay with.
Okay, and let me just confirm that with staff, that engineering is okay with the modifications.
Al Peterson for engineering staff, and that is correct. As the PD document stands before you, engineering is on board.
You can support the approval. Okay, thank you. I also saw the objections from the neighborhood, from the Pinery HOA. I think I'll reserve comment and question on those until I've heard from the citizens and perhaps the HOA. So I don't have any other questions at this time. Commissioner Teal?
No questions. I did a very thorough presentation.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I will open it up for citizen comment. Is there any citizen comment in the room or online with regard to this item? Yes, ma'am. And if you just want to approach the podium and state your name and where you reside for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Vicki O'Donnell, and I am the treasurer and secretary of the Pinery West Homeowners Association.
So if we could put 6 minutes on the clock for the HOA, please. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. As you will notice by the aerial view that was presented, you may have noticed that the development to the north of Pinery Meadows is Pinery West. If you would please note, the proposed project is roughly the same size as Pinery West and Pinery Meadows. Our community of Pinery West homes are less than 15 feet apart, with 86 homes located on these small lots. The proposal of 170 single-family units on roughly the same size acreage will create an extremely high-density development. We are asking the Board of Commissioners to reassess the number of dwelling units to be allowed. Other proposals within the development standards showed group home, daycare home large, daycare home small, in-home elder care, and home occupation class 1. Would it be possible for either the commissioners or the developers to explain these items to us? These were presented on June 8th of 2022 when the development standards and the PD was sent to the commissioners. Regarding the noise mitigation setback, it is less than what we have at the Pinery West development. Our noise levels are sometimes to the extent for residents not to be able to sit outside on their decks and carry on a normal voice conversation. So just as a note, we do have a larger buffer than a 100-foot setback, but it's still, the noise carries tremendously. Regarding the traffic improving, Pinery Center Boulevard will carry the traffic not only from this development, but the development immediately to its south to Ulysses, connect to Interlochen, which will then connect to Bayou Gulch. So a tremendous amount of traffic will impact Pinery West, coming from all the way from Bayou Gulch through the Pradera, Pinery Glen, Stone Creek, Ulysses developments. So just a consideration that we would ask the commissioners to please take a look at. The other questions that we had as a community, the cash in lieu of designated land for Douglas County school districts. Where does this cash go? What line item is this contained on the financial statements or the budget for the 2.34 acres? The other question is the compelling public benefit of $500 per lot. Where does this cash go? In what line item is this contained on the financial statements and or budget? How is the use of this money determined? How is the public or the communities notified of the project receiving these funds? With just the 3 developments of Cross Creek of 105 homes, they are offering $1,000 of their compelling public benefit. Ulysses of 220 apartments is offering $1,000 for their compelling public benefit, and now Alphabet of 170 units of $500 per lot. This equals $410,000 of compelling benefit dollars that the county of Douglas County can use. How will this money be utilized? Do the commissioners let those communities know where that money is going to be used? That is all I have from Pinery West.
Ms. O'Donnell, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
Additional citizen comment? Troy, do we have any citizen comment online?
I believe so, Commissioner. I do have a hand raised from Irving Crump. Irving, you are unmuted. Go ahead.
Yes, this is Irving Crump. I'm in Pinery West at 6580 Club Villa Road, and I've been a resident here for 6 years. And I live on the west side of the development, so I would be impacted by the. Am I going to have 6 minutes, or is this 2 minutes going to be it?
Just 3 minutes for citizens. HOA leadership gets 6.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so basically, I can send in a document, and I would just need some direction as to where to send that. It has more of my questions. I'm kind of concerned about the document that was online. It says single-family planning area, PA1 24.5. It says single-family attached and detached dwellings with minimum lot sizes of 1,500 to 2,200 square feet. That has to be an error. So I think that needs to be corrected in your PD. Our homes are on 5,500 square foot lots approximately, and Vicki had just said that basically we have 86 homes on the same amount of property. I don't see how they're going to do it, because if you just take and divide out the 25.4 acres, it's about 1 million square feet. And if you do some math, it works out to less than 4,300 square feet per lot. So we would like to know, A, the types of homes that are going to be on there, the ones that abut our properties on the south. Are they going to be single-family ranch homes instead of single-family two-story homes? Because two-story homes would be very poor decision, because then we would lose total view to the south for many of those homes. And I just want to speak briefly on one item. As far as the area that's to the direct west in the wildlife designated area, that is a heavy wildlife area with deer, eagles, red hawks, and owls, the large owls. So anyway, I just want to do that, but if someone can give me the direction as to where I can send my document to, I'd appreciate that very much. Thank you for your time.
Sir, thank you for being with us. Troy, if you can help him get any information that he needs to us, I'd appreciate it. And then, sir, any questions, the applicant will have an opportunity to follow up on those. Any additional citizen comment online?
Thank you, sir. I have no additional online comment.
Okay, and with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or emotion.
Well, first of all, I thought Mrs. O'Donnell had a couple of really neat questions pertaining to what happens to these impact fees. The $500 per home that goes to the school district, the $500 per home dedicated to parks. Obviously, the school district is a separate governmental entity. We can probably go ahead and ask them to participate in some sort of information session or ask them to push information out to the public. We have a tough time telling you with internal county resources where that is in their budgets, just because we'd be just like you. We'd be pulling up their budget. When it comes to the park dedication, actually, that's a really great question that I think the board should consider. Maybe that's something that we do as a part of our resident communication plan. And I don't know if that's a good idea for a town hall meeting, where that information is kind of broken down and pushed out. And ma'am, you do need to understand that that amount, that $500 per unit, it likely does not match every other development that we've seen go into Douglas County. We have a very illustrious member of the Highlands Ranch Metro District in the front row there, Renee Anderson, the chairman of the Highlands Ranch Metro District. The per unit assessment for parks with Highlands Ranch, first done in the 1980s. I think I got that right, Renee? In 1981 does not match that $500. So it's going to be a little bit of a checkerboard pattern, but maybe that is something that we could put some time into and communicating with the public about, because I did think that was a very that was a decent question, actually, to be asked, and probably something that we can roll back information, particularly for this development as it continues to get built out. I have a few ideas. I mean, I'm happy to share if you guys would like to know, but I do have a few ideas on what we could probably do, particularly for recreational amenities that are in the floodplain right there in Cherry Creek, that could be a benefit to your neighbors, to the people that would move into this development. But at the same time, they're hardening against flooding, because that floodplain is there for a reason. And I think some of us, I'm not old enough to remember the 65 flood, but perhaps some of us here in the county do remember when the 65 flood didn't just hit here in Castle Rock, but it also hit the Cherry Creek Valley as well.
So Commissioner Teal, I think you raised a couple of good points, and I know that the citizen commented as well. Let me make sure that the applicant has had an opportunity to respond to anything that you may have heard from citizens.
Yes, thank you. Mitch Black again with Norris Design. The questions are really good. We've heard some consistent questions throughout our neighborhood meetings and comp plan amendment and with planning commission on this rezoning. And as far as compatibility, it's always a difficult term at times to, we always say compatibility doesn't mean the same. And so we have multifamily freshly kind of rezoned to the south. We have existing single-family detached to the north. And we wanted to come in, we have also a different time where the way homes are built, the way lifestyles are, is trying to kind of fit between those two. So we wanted to have a buffer to the north. We wanted to have that distinction of single-family detached along that edge. That's why we had the more specific language instead of along. It seemed a little, but at least that edge would be addressed. And that helps, I think, everyone with specificity. So we think we're compatible with where this land use application comes into play. The collector connection is literally, I think, a lot of the back and forth that was referenced with the engineering comments was based on trying to figure out how to get two links of roadway, one in this property, one in the property to the south, to all become a reality. Whether one or the other goes first, somebody will go first, so there was a bit of back and forth on how to do that. And what that required was the two applicants between the two properties to talk about ways to do that with the county and get that language written into both of the planning documents, the PDs. So that was resolved. The noise buffer, we have a noise consultant that was also brought on board that did a noise study, so we're following. So the setback is following the science of that study, and so we're working with that. And when you look on the plan, it is a very similar setback to our neighbors to the north because the noise is a similar kind of impact along that edge. Traffic, we always have comments about that in any project we're working on because this will add trips. But what it does also is we work through the report with the traffic experts in the county, trying to get that dialed in to the best solution possible. And then there's this mitigation with the signals being funded, partially funded with this development. And then a real key link is providing this north-south collector that will parallel the highway that is busier and fulfilling basically a piece of the county's master plan and transportation master plan in the area. And it was the open space for the compelling public benefit. When we went through that in the comprehensive plan request, we really sat down and tried to figure out with the Parks Department what kind of projects, if there were any, that were specifically, say, underfunded or had a gap that needed to be, that might be the closest ones to this site. And so we had some good conversations with staff there, and they had some ideas, but they were difficult to nail down exactly or precisely because sometimes they involve, I think, under-designed kind of projects. So the staff had some really good ideas already, and any ideas where that would want to go would be great. And we've always thought whenever it's closest to, if it's not on site but closest to, then it is kind of offsetting impacts and providing those benefits in the area. And you've already talked about the schools. As far as again, more compatibility, there are single-family homes to the north, some two-story ones as well. That is zoned with a 35-foot height restriction. So again, we have a 30-foot height restriction. We have single-family proposed, and we're transitioning basically between multifamily and single-family detached. Wildlife in the area, again, we have 40% of our site in this Cherry Creek corridor, which would keep the most significant corridor intact of that north-south area where the wildlife tend to congregate in the area. So I think that addresses all of the questions I heard. But again, we're trying to fit in as best we can to everything that's going on around us and complete the linkages, if you will, in all of those areas to just make it a logical transition. So if you have any other questions, we'll be here to answer them.
There was a question that was asked by the gentleman online that the minimum lot size is 1,500 square feet. That's on page 2. And when I saw that, I thought, wow, that's a lot size. Is that correct?
It is a lot size. So that would be for an attached home. So whenever you do, so we're really, that's where we reduced down from 196 when we came in with, say, a bubble plan level zoning early on in the beginning of the application. We've since done some studies and we reduced that at Planning Commission to 170. We knew that made sense. So it still allows for some single family attached. It takes options off the table if you will, to be able to do only 170. But that is a lot size, and sometimes you're doing that with, whenever you get into, say, rear-loaded homes, they get smaller because they get narrower, or they can get narrower. And sometimes people don't want to have a lot of space to have to take care of and maintain, and so it becomes a lifestyle, and then a lot of the irrigation water concerns on top of that, not having big areas to have to irrigate. So we do end up, that is not the smallest that we design on these days. So lifestyle and the way homes are designed and built today, not that we would achieve that on this, but it is a minimum that we stated in the zoning.
Well, thank you for addressing those issues. Further questions or comments for the applicant?
You're welcome. Oh,
You can stay put for
any more? Yeah.
any other questions?
I think I'm good.
Okay, yeah. I don't have any other questions as well. Thank you for providing those really thorough responses.
All right. Thank
So with that, I'll bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
So I thought that the applicant did a good job going through all of the approval standards and explaining each one of them. And one that we see and over is in the 1503.01, the consistency with zoning resolution and the comprehensive master plan. And there are some objectives that are in our comprehensive master plan that I find helpful when I'm talking about issues like this. And one of them are the objective 2-7A.1, and it's to encourage a variety of housing that fits different lifestyles and needs. So while there are a lot of single-family homes in this neighborhood, there are also needs for smaller homes, and as Mr. Black just talked about, not wanting to have a big yard to have to maintain. So this seems to bring about that different variety of housing. I went through each one of those as Ty went through the approval standards. I believe that each of the approval standards are met. When I was reading through the packet, I noted that this is shown as a low habitat value area, which I thought was surprising with Cherry Creek right there, but that is how the project is defined. So in reading through all of this, I will be in support of this project.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Further comments?
I'm inclined as well. I mean, for me, the map tells the story. This is, just pulling up right here at the dais. I mean, this is a postage stamp of agricultural land that has been encroached on all sides practically by, residential zoning. So I do think it fits the character, and it is in compliance with the comprehensive master plan, so I'll be in support as well.
Well, thank you for that, and I would agree with my colleagues. I think 1503 at Sequitur has been met, having reviewed the packet. And specifically, some of the community concerns I think have been addressed. In the referral comments, it's very clear that the proposed PD sets aside about 15 acres of land for open space, land preservation. That will be a community separator and buffer between future homes. The county is also requiring the applicant to pay a pro rata share for traffic signals at Scott Avenue and 83, which is a 50% share for signals, as well as completing that full connection of Pinery Center Boulevard to Scott Avenue. So I think that addresses a lot of the land preservation, habitat concerns, and some of the traffic mitigation issues raised by those that commented. So in addition to satisfying the items raised in our comprehensive master plan, I will be supporting as well.
I have a motion then to approve Pinery Meadows Plan Development rezoning because it does meet all of the approval criteria with 4 conditions, including the proposed number 3 that was presented. As presented, project file ZR 2022-028.
Second.
So there's a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 3-0. Congratulations. Thank you for being with us. So with that, we'll move on to item 3B, which is Stone Creek Ranch Plan Development First Amendment, project file ZR 2021-017. And again, Kurt presenting for staff.
Okay, good afternoon, Commissioners. Once again, Kurt Whiteconot in for Mike Basica. The request before you is a planned major amendment to the plan development for the Stone Creek Ranch Plan Development. Project number is ZR 2021-017. Mike Sanders of Chokecherry Investors and Karen Henry of Henry Design Group are also are here on behalf of the owners. This request for the major amendment to the Stone Creek Ranch PD is to amend the boundaries of planning areas 1 and 4 by reducing the amount of open space by a little over 4 acres with the creation of a new residential planning area, in this case planning area number 8. PA 8 will allow for 2 residential lots that were previously approved as open space tracts. The maximum number of homes permitted with the PD amendment is 2, and there are already actually 2 existing homes which can remain or be rebuilt on the site. The proposed uses in the new planning area 8 will mirror those of the existing Stone Creek Ranch residential planning areas. There is no change to access or drainage with this request. Here's the major PD amendment intent listed on the slide to encourage, and I won't read it again since we just saw that, but there it is for you. PD major amendment process is similar to what you heard with a couple of differences here. Follows with submittal of an application, followed a review period. Notice is given before the board, the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. There were no written comments during the process received from the public. Of the 3 HOAs that received referral, only the Pinery did actually respond and they had no comment. If construction occurs on the 2 new lots, the building requirements to ensure indoor noise levels will meet the required levels for residential development adjacent to the state highway. Just want to point that out there. Going on, just went to the Planning Commission on January 23rd. The Planning Commission recommended approval with a vote of 5-0 with the conditions recommended in the staff report. No one from the public spoke either for or against the application. Taking a look at the vicinity map here, identified by the red star, it's approximately the same location as the last application you saw, just a little bit to the south here. It's in the northeast portion of the county, and it's actually on the southwest corner of State Highway 83 and Scott Avenue. And we'll zoom in here. This area is outlined in red, as we mentioned before. The properties to the south, east, and west are zoned planned development. The property just to the north of it was recently rezoned to PD, even though it shows up as A1. Our maps haven't been updated yet to reflect that. Zooming in, the project area still is outlined in red. There is an existing single-family development to the south and west. State Highway 83 borders it to the east. To the north is an existing residence with agricultural uses and a cellular communication tower, and that's what he's referring to is just off the edge of the map right up here. The existing residential structures is one on the north here, and just for reference, one down here on the south of this tract. A little background, the original Stone Creek Plan Development was approved in 2014. Then in 2015, the final plat for Stone Creek Ranch was approved. Taking a look at this excerpt from the PD map, the amendment area is outlined in red here, as we showed you before. Planning Area 8 allows for the 2 new future residential lots. The PA4, as you can see just from the exhibit, just as it can be, right here is kind of wraps around here and right here. And that's the area that ends up being reduced by approximately 4.2 acres due to the two new lots of 2 acres and about approximately 2.2 acres. And as we mentioned before, there are no changes to access or drainage for the lots. Taking a look at some site photos here, This is looking north along Interlochen Street towards Scott Avenue. Up in the trees is one of the existing residences. And this is looking from the same location along Interlochen Street, kind of looking to the south-southeast. This is the Homestead House that's visible in the picture. This is the other residential house just to the south. And then this is a view looking south along Interlochen Street. You can still see the house, the existing Homestead House on the left, and on the right are some of the newer houses in the Stone Creek Ranch development. And then this is looking also along Interlochen Street, but looking more to the west-southwest at the existing residences in Stone Creek Ranch. And then kind of going full circle here, this is looking to the northwest. The Stone Creek Ranch clubhouse and pool are visible on the right-hand side, the white house with the green roof right there. The approval standards for a major PD amendment are set forth in section 15 and listed on the slide. Staff's assessment of the approval standards is discussed in detail on pages 7 through 9 of the staff report. And once again, should staff has evaluated the major plan development request in accordance with section 15 of the zoning resolution. Should the board find the approval standards have been met, staff proposes the following conditions be included in the motion. Prior to recordation, all technical corrections to the Stone Creek Ranch Plan Development First Amendment document shall be made to the satisfaction of Douglas County. Condition number 2, a replat to convert tracts M and T to residential lots shall be submitted to Douglas County per the subdivision resolution. Finally, condition 3, all commitments and promises made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the public hearing and or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of such commitments and promises. And section 152208 sets forth the parameters for the board's approval of the major PD amendment request. And that wraps up staff's here. It concludes our presentation. I'm obviously available to take any questions at this time. Otherwise, Michael Sanders of Chokecherry Investors and Karen Henry from the Henry Design Group are here to answer questions and also have a short presentation, I believe.
Kurt, thank you for that. Any questions for staff?
Kurt, I do have a question.
Yes.
And this might be more about process.
Okay.
But this is on page 4 under context A for background. And as I read this, the Stone Creek Ranch PD was rezoned in 2014 and Tract T was set aside as open space.
Yes.
And then in 21, Tract T was sold by Chokecherry Investors as a residence. And in 2021, the owners came to do the right thing and get a permit for a remodel and found out that it was open space. So isn't that something that would have been picked up on a title insurance, or how did this happen in the first place?
I think sometimes there's the distinction, if we're looking at where the county looks at tracts, what we consider a tract versus what we consider a lot. Generally, tracts are non-residential and not conveyable to a private party, if you will. They're generally intended for quasi-public uses such as open space or a metro district or an HOA. So I think that's where the title company didn't pick up on that distinction on how we look at a tract versus how we look at it as a lot. And I think the applicant in this case also looked at it as a sellable tract as opposed to a sellable lot. So if that's clear about that, I think there was some difficulty with the interpretation of that for the tract. So
when I was
we're here
reading,
is trying to clean it up and actually turn it from a tract into a lot. And yes, so, and the background is even with that house, with that existing residence on there, we assumed it was going to go to a open space type of use, which could have been some sort of office or, if you will, shop type building for the HOA or a metro district. So that's what we were expecting. So that's why we're here, is to clean this up in the plan development.
Well, I understand that. I'm trying to figure out how we got here. So somehow
Well,
Choke Cherry investors didn't realize it wasn't a house they could sell.
Basically, yes.
Thank you. I have nothing else.
Further questions for staff?
I'd like to hear from the applicant.
I would as well. The applicant would like to come up.
The pointer's right there. Yeah, I do.
Okay. Commissioners, my name is Michael Sanders. I'm at 5989 Interlochen Street in Parker. And thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you about this case. Let's see here.
Sorry, it won't open my, it will not open.
We'll get our screen up here.
Does not like your PDF.
It's a PDF.
Yes.
We're working on this, Commissioner, so if you can just give us a second here.
That's right. They just have to break Mike Persica's code. Well, if there's any way, because I think it's going to have some relevance to Commissioner Thomas's question.
No, I got my one. I got the PDF. That's what I tried to open. I didn't get
Commissioners, we have a corrupt file, so we're trying to get a new version uploaded.
So in the interest of time, we do have several other items on our agenda today, and I know we have folks waiting to get to those. I'm just wondering, the board does have the benefit of the entire packet, which we've all reviewed, and we have a lot of that information, if not all of your information in that. Do you think you might be able to proceed without the visual aids, or do you think that's necessary for your application?
Yes, sir, I can do that, or
Okay.
I can wait until the applicant, there's just one, I just want to point out a couple of pages that are conflicting in the PD that are graphically shown on the presentation, on the recorded PD document. And so I prefer to have it. If you don't, and I'll be happy to let another case go before me while we try and figure it out. Or if you want me to make presentation, I can do that.
Well, and thank you for your patience with the IT. Do you think you would be able to verbally walk us through that, or is
I'll
it?
I'll give it my best shot.
Okay.
And I've actually got a hard copy of it here, but I only have one. I don't have one for everybody, so.
Chair, I think we always want to give the applicant the benefit of the doubt. Perhaps we can respond to his suggestion that other agenda items go before, and go ahead and, since there's no motion at this time, but move his agenda item to perhaps the bottom of the agenda, and allow us to proceed with the other agenda items while we sort through the technical difficulties, given the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, sir.
It's a great suggestion. I just am wondering if it's a corrupted file, if we're going to have success on that or not.
I just got it. So,
Oh, okay. Great. There we go.
See, that's called IT good luck. About the time you decide you're just going to move along and take care of other things, the problem gets solved.
My apologies to everyone.
Of course, now you got to do it, Kurt.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, and while you're working, if it's going to be a little bit, we can make hard copies of the color printout you've made. So if you want to just approach council right here, we can make copies of that, and the board can look at that.
Well, so
Okay,
let's go ahead and.
Hey.
Hey, there we go.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope I haven't built the show up too much.
Yeah, now we're expecting it. This better be awesome.
I will be quick, so.
No, take your time. This is your application.
The pointer, Kurt, sorry. Okay, sorry. So this was, as he said, the zoning was approved in 2014. The plat was finally approved in 2015, and this is for the entire Stone Creek subdivision. It was 250 acres, 329 lots on either side, new lots, with Cherry Creek coming up the center of it. And it also went all the way up here to Parker Road. And we had dealt through the Pinery Rest subdivision for many years with the Pinery and the High Prairie Farms HOAs across the street. And a gentleman named Pat Bro had owned this ranch, and he had tried to get it zoned and had been shot down by the county commissioners. So before we even made an offer on this, we went to the HOAs across the street and said, hey, we'd love to develop this, but we know you guys were against it. And so they gave us some parameters under which they could support it. And one of the parameters was they wanted this strip between Interlochen and Parker Road to remain as it was. There was two houses, one house built in the 1800s, another house which I lived in until I sold it, which was built in the 70s right here. So we agreed to do that. We left that area the same, and we put all of our new development on the west side of Interlochen Road. And obviously, this was a pretty complex PD document. We were dealing with existing Interlochen Road, which was Saminsky Road at that time. We had Scott Avenue. We had a condemned bridge over Cherry Creek. And then we had all the constraints of Cherry Creek that we had to deal with. So we came up with this very complex PD document. At the end of the day, we were able to get everything built. We built the new bridge over Cherry Creek. However, in the recorded PD, which you'll see right here, we pointed out on the PD document that the brick house was to remain and that the white house was to remain. We were occupying both of those houses at the time. Our ranch manager was in the white house. I personally was in the red house, red brick house. And so it was always our intent that those houses would remain. What we overlooked is that in the PD document itself, under that area where those houses were, it lists all the approved uses, but it didn't specifically say residential home. But obviously, we had intended it both by our actions and by other parts of the document. So to me, this is really just a cleanup document. We did sell the house. We never knew there was any issue with the zoning. It was zoned PD when the county looks at it. We were on the tax rolls as residential. We've been paying taxes on those properties as houses for the 10 years since we've owned it. So to me, really, this is just a cleanup exercise, reflecting our intent all along. They were set forth on the plat as tracts. We thought that was because they were larger in acreage than our residential lots, which were basically 7,000-foot lots. These are a couple of acres each. And so I think it was just one big misunderstanding within a pretty complex document. And so I think the first time that it came to anybody's attention, as Commissioner Thomas said, is when that gentleman came in to talk about expanding the house. And when they looked at the zoning, they said, hey, well, there's nothing here that says there can be a house here on that one page. On the other page, it did, though, say that the house could remain. And so that was news to us. And that was the first we heard of it, and we immediately started working with county staff to get that straightened out. And so it was staff's assessment that we had to bring that to your attention. It couldn't be done administratively, so that's why we're here. And, we're just going by the spirit of what we agreed with the Pinery neighbors. We've agreed not to ever re-subdivide those lots into more units. They're just going to stay as they are. The houses can be remodeled or rebuilt, but that's it, just one dwelling unit per lot. Other than that, Kurt did a great job of pitch hitting for Mike, and we're in agreement with the county's assessment per the staff report.
Okay, great. So any questions for the applicant?
I have none, and I appreciate that clarification, sir.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you. It's a good question.
Yeah, no questions. That cleared everything up for me.
Thank you.
And I was clear, so thank you for that. With that, I'll open it up for any citizen comment, either in person or online.
Commissioner, I have no online comment.
Okay, and with that, I'll close citizen comment. Let me just ask the applicant, are you okay with the 3 conditions as presented?
Yes, I am. We're fine with those conditions.
Okay, great.
Condition number 2 says that they want us to go ahead and convert the labeling from tracks to lots. We'll do it, and it's per a standard, so I don't know what that standard is, but if we can do it administratively, that would be appreciated, so we don't have to take up the planning commission's time and your time, but whatever the rules are and however we need to do that, we'll be prepared to do that.
Okay, thank you for that. So with that, I'll bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
Just a quick question for Kurt. Kurt, give me that. I'm sorry. I lost track. Are we dealing with 2 conditions or 3?
3.
There were 3.
Okay, thank you. Well, with that, I mean, obviously, I think we're fixing an error. I'm always in favor of fixing errors. Therefore, if it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve Stone Creek Ranch Plan Development First Amendment because it does meet all of the approval criteria with 3 conditions as presented. Project file is ZR2021-017.
Second.
So there's a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 3-0. With that, we'll move to item 3C of our public hearing item agenda items, resolution approving the amended and restated service plan of South Metro Fire Rescue Fire Protection District. Lauren Pulver presenting for staff. Hi, Lauren.
Thank you, sir.
Show me, change you back to host. It's something I haven't done in a long time. Okay. Oh, good.
At least that's all they said.
Yeah, should we put this county commissioner's office?
While Lauren's preparing, commissioners, I have handed out 2 oversized pages of graphics that were submitted by the applicant and have been marked as Exhibit 1 for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. The project before you is a service plan amendment for South Metro Fire Rescue Fire Protection District. The project number is SV 2022-003. I'm Lauren Pulver, representing Planning Resources. The applicant representative is John Adams with South Metro Fire Rescue. The purpose of the amendment is to update the service plan to better align with the consolidations and service changes that have occurred since the district's original approval in 1967. The Board of County Commissioners created and adopted guidelines for processing and reviewing special district service plan applications. The procedures provide that the board review the service plan to determine its compliance with specific criteria set forth in the Control Act. The process begins with the submittal of an application. The request is prepared by staff and forwarded to referral agencies for comment. Staff further analyzes the request, and the applicant has the opportunity to resolve any issues identified through the referral period. The request is reviewed by the Planning Commission at a public meeting. Following public notice, the request is heard before the Board of County Commissioners. This amendment is also being reviewed by the Arapahoe and Jefferson counties and will be presented to those boards of county commissioners for approval. On January 24th, 2023, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the service plan amendment by a vote of 5-0. No public comments were received. The district is located in the South Denver metro area and serves Arapahoe, Jefferson, and Douglas counties, covering 285 square miles. A map of the district is on the slide. The district was originally approved by Douglas County as the Parker Fire Protection District in 1967. The service plan was modified in 1983 to allow the district to incur indebtedness for capital improvements. The service plan was amended again in 1996 to reflect all of the services offered by the district. South Metro Fire Rescue Protection District, previously known as the Castlewood Fire Protection District, was formed in 1951. In 2008, Parker Fire Protection District and several other fire districts were included in a consolidation with South Metro Fire Rescue District. The district serves approximately 555,000 residents across 12 cities and portions of 3 counties. The Colorado Revised Statutes specify criteria for approval of special district service plans. The board must consider the following 9 criteria in evaluating the service plan. In response to numbers 1 and 2, the area encompassed by the district boundaries is not served by any other fire protection district and will continue to be served by the district. Number 3, the proposed amendment does not contain changes to the mill levy, and the district has continued to provide fire protection services to the area within its boundaries since 1967. Number 4, the amendment does not contemplate proposed indebtedness. In response to number 5, no other entity is able or willing to provide such services within a reasonable time or on a comparable basis, and the district will continue to fulfill these services. Number 6, all facilities will continue to be constructed in accordance with all applicable standards. Number 7, the district is in compliance with CMP Goal 5-6, addressing the provision of emergency services within the county. Number 8, the district does not provide water or wastewater services, but at the time the original service plan was approved, the district was in compliance with the Colorado Water Plan. And number 9, the area encompassed by the district boundaries is not served by any other fire protection district and will continue to be served by the district. In staff's assessment, the application complies with the statutory criteria and the amended service plan may be approved. This concludes my presentation. The applicant representative, John Adams, is here with a presentation as well.
Thank you, Lauren. Any questions for staff?
I don't have any questions. Thank you for all the information. It was a nice history lesson to go through and read.
No questions.
And I have no questions either. Thank you, Lauren. Great. With that, we'll go to the applicant.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is John Adams. I'm a Deputy Chief with South Metro Fire Rescue. And I'm here today to talk about the fire department that I've worked at my whole career and the one that protects not only my family, but many close friends and my extended family as well. I'm joined by our legal attorney, Bob Cole. He'll be here to answer any legal questions that may come up. Jim Albee is our board chair. He represents an area Centennial. Renee Anderson is a board member as well. She represents Highlands Ranch encompassing in Douglas County. And then Bill Shriver is here as well. He represents Parker, which is also located in Douglas County. I have a short history. We'll cover some of the information that was provided in the packet that you have, but feel free to ask any questions at any time. So again, the purpose why we're here today is because there have been some significant changes since the original service plan was implemented in 1967. That includes geographic, demographics, finances, and the services that we provide to our residents. It was our decision that we should update the plan and capture these changes in more details in the plan. and create a more sustainable service plan for the future. As mentioned before, the original service plan was done in 1967, and that was for Parker Fire. Parker Fire was a small volunteer department at that time. This is when they made the shift and wanted to become a little more career department and add some mill levies to adequately provide protection to their citizens. The population of Parker at that time was about 2,000 people, and that Parker Fire District actually encompassed 105 square miles of Arapahoe and Douglas County. In 1983, our service plan was amended to issue some service bonds for capital improvements. If you take a look at the picture on the lower right, that's a snapshot from 1983. The Pinery is on your lower right, and we're looking north. That's kind of the Sturrow Ranch area. So before a lot of the residential construction went in there, Parker Fire operated in that area, but it was in 1983 that they had bonds issued to provide services. And in 1996, there was additions made to our service plan because at that time we started doing emergency medical transports. We started bringing our fleet services in-house. All of our training facilities were done in-house, and then the department capabilities of hazardous materials, technical rescue, and fire prevention were added. There wasn't much change from 1996 until today, but the next slide will kind of go through why we're here today. So as we talked about in 1967, the Parker Fire District is the map on the top left. It was 101 square miles, roughly 105. If you go to the top right, that's when South Metro Fire and Parker merged in 2008. And South Metro was a conglomeration of the 5 departments that were listed there and the various times that those departments merged as well. In 2018, the organizations merged with Cunningham Fire, which is the lower left picture. And Cunningham was made up of 2 smaller departments. And then in 2019, our final consolidation took place with Littleton Fire Rescue, which is the map of the lower right, which encompasses our district today. And Littleton Fire Rescue was made up of 4 separate districts, including the city of Littleton, which was established in 1890. So we've had roughly 55 years of change since the original service plan was done, and now's a good time to update it. So who are we today? As mentioned, we are about 279 square miles encompass our district borders. We cover 287.5 square miles, however, because we do have some contractual service areas with Cherry Creek State Reservoir and the Daniels Park area. Our population is roughly 561,000 people at the end of 2022. We operate out of 30 fire stations located throughout the district with 750 personnel. We encompass the counties of Arapahoe, Douglas, and Jefferson County, as well as we provide the fire protection for 12 different cities within our boundaries. So on the left, you have all the contents of the service plan, which is our background, history, the service area, the services we provide, the governance, financial plan, future growth, and agreements. And the right is how we got here today. So as mentioned earlier, we submitted the plan. We had to send out 171,000, more than that, notifications to property owners and taxing districts. We met with the 3 separate planning commissions of the counties to get their approval. And now we start the process of meeting with the 3 boards of commissioners to submit the plan for approval. In total, our boundary description in individual maps is around 1,204 maps. So a big thank you goes out to our partners at the counties that have been able to review this for us, the county planning commissions, the county commissioners today from Douglas that are hearing this, as well as the staff at South Metro putting all the information together. Rather than go through the 9 themes that were talked about, we thought we would just highlight 4 of the ones that, that we feel there have been significant changes to our service plan. Is there a projected need is really the first one, and I'm not going to read this all to you, but this is highlighting, is there a projected need for our fire protection within our district? And we would say that for sure there is. In 1967, however, when this was established, the need was significantly different. So if you think about fire suppression, the apparatus we use today, the personnel we employ today just operated differently in 1967 than they do now. Currently, we provide emergency medical service at South Metro. We don't outsource that to an independent agency. It's all done within house unless we have overflow calls where we need to rely on a private ambulance. That includes the transport service of our medics. We have a fire marshal's office which does code enforcement, investigations, and pre-building construction plan review to make sure our buildings are constructed safely. We have a community risk reduction team which goes out into our areas of concern, whether that be schools where we can talk to kids about staying at home alone and not playing with matches, to nursing homes where we may have significant calls for medical service for falls, and they can work with those communities to minimize that risk. Our emergency management division is responsible for not only planning events that may be in our district with some notice This happens a lot in the summertime at Fiddler's Green. We have a lot of concerts in there, so our emergency management group makes a lot of plans. However, there's the times we get fires like the Chat Ridge Estate Fire where our emergency management group will be spooled up at that time to help us out with planning and integrating with our partners in the county. Our special teams include dive, rescue. We have a nationally deployable wildland team. We have an aircraft rescue team stationed out of Centennial Airport. We have a nationally deployable search and rescue team that's gone to such incidents as 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Rita, the Oklahoma City bombings. We have a fully integrated hazmat team. We have SWAT medics that operate not only with the Douglas County SWAT team, but also Arapahoe County SWAT team. We have an incident management team that can help out on a higher level. And then our dispatch center is all self-contained through South Metro Fire. So from the difference from 1967, if you look at the top right, as we all know, our brush fires are they're moving a lot faster, and we have a lot of houses being built into spaces today with a rapid progression of fire, a significant difference from 1967. We have 3 reservoirs now within our district where we need our dive teams to respond to. Our Centennial Airport, which was established or built in 1968, is now the 6th busiest general aviation airport in the United States. We have large private jets that fly through there on a regular basis, as well as many student pilot programs. And then on the lower left from Emergency Medical Services, one of the first fire departments in the nation to implement a comprehensive ultrasound program where we can determine whether we should terminate resuscitation efforts on scene for patients who may have had a cardiac arrest, transported into the hospital. We're also part of a groundbreaking study to be able to diagnose COVID quicker in the field through scans that we were seeing in the lungs. And it's pretty unheard of for fire departments to have ultrasounds in the field. And I'm proud to say we have them on every one of our frontline apparatus. So is there a need? We believe there is. There were 48,000 incidents in 2002. We transported 22,000 patients to the hospital. Our building team did over 7,100 permit reviews that's either new construction or remodels, and then over 7,100 construction site inspections to make sure that those are safely operating as we're building the buildings. We did 11,250 occupant inspections, which are the buildings today that people occupy to go to business. We go in and inspect that, make sure that their fire is safe. Our risk reduction team had 39,000 contacts, and there's some pictures of them on the lower right and on the lower left working with the youth of our district. And then we're proud to say that our YouTube channel is the largest followed YouTube channel of any fire department with over 300,000 followers. So the next one we wanted to talk about is, can we economically provide service to our citizens? We rarely use real debt, and we haven't in any recent years, and we don't have any current plans to do so. We pay for everything with cash currently, and our board of directors is very fiscally responsible in that manner. When we take a look at financial sustainability, Parker Fire Protection District prior to the merger was at 13.978 mils, and we were able to drop their mils to 9.25. Cunningham Fire Protection District was at 14.57 mils, and their mils were dropped to 9.25. The consolidation with the Littleton Fire Protection District was a little bit different. Their mils at the time were 7.678. However, it was projected they would need over 10 mils to fund the fire department, and we were able to get it at a 9.25. The Highlands Ranch Metro District, which didn't have a mill rate prior to that, it was paid through the Metro property tax. At 18.205 was reduced to 11.205, and then we put in that 9.25 mill rate, which is lower than the projected mill rate that the Highlands Ranch Metro District felt they would need. And then the city of Littleton, again, they did not have a mill rate. It was the city sales tax, but we dropped the city sales, or they were able to drop the city sales tax from 6.662 down to 2% with the 9.25 mill rate. A little breakout on the right of where our budget revenues come from. 71% of our budget revenues come from property taxes. About 6% comes from specific ownership taxes, and then about 8% is from charges for service. That can be permit renewals, fees, ambulance transports, and then we have some other medical offsets and other income the organization gets through rental of our facilities. South Metro Fire Rescue is the most fiscally responsible fire department in the state. That's just a brief comparison of other districts with special districts that we compare against. So we have a 9.25 base mill rate, and our abatements are 0.069, which is a total of 9.319. And like I said earlier, we cover Douglas, Arapahoe, and Jefferson County. West Metro Fire, when you add their abatements in, is about 12.472. Arvada is at 14.848, and North Metro is at 13.281. So we do feel that we are financially sustainable not only now, but into the future, and don't plan on taking any further debt. The next compliance is, are our facilities compatible with the county standards that have been set forth? And this is a picture of Station 20. Station 20 is a brand-new station that we just put in the south part of Highlands Ranch to help us out into some areas where we had some issues with covering. When we merged with Littleton Fire, there were some gaps in the stations that we had. So Station 20 was a priority, got moved to the top of the list, and we worked hand in hand with the county, with Douglas County, in getting this station built. And it's now up and running, and we've had a lot of great feedback from our citizens, how they love having that station down there. Interestingly about this as well, before we built the station, we had many community groups involved to help pick the design of the station. We wanted it to fit in and be aesthetically pleasing for our citizens. And then also in Douglas County, we work with our partners at the county through the Daniels Park Sterling Ranch construction project, and we're heavily involved with the Douglas County Office of Emergency Management through our wildfire mitigation program. Finally, the last one we want to address is it in the best interest of our citizens in the area that we serve? We believe it is in the best interest of our citizens. As I said earlier, we're governed by a board of directors that's elected by the constituents that they represent. It's broken out into 7 districts, and we have elections that the citizens can voice who they'd like to be on those boards. We are accredited through the Commission on Fire Accreditation International, which is on the Center for Public Safety and Excellence. There's only 301 accredited agencies in the United States, and only 12% of the population of the United States is covered by an accredited agency. We're also an ISO Class 1 agency, and there was only 487 of those in the United States. That's an insurance service organization rating that tells you how much or how little insurance you pay for fire insurance for your house. So the lower your rating, the lower your premiums are, because theoretically the better fire department you have protecting your home. If you have a rating of an ISO 9, your insurance is going to be through the roof. And out of the United States, there's 487 are Class 1, only 9 are located in Colorado. What we're most proud of, though, is there are only 13 agencies in the United States that cover more than 500,000 people that have both an ISO class rating of 1 and are accredited through the CFAI. So we're a pretty rare commodity in the fire industry. And then finally, on the lower part, we were recently recognized by the Congressional Fire Service Institute for our ultrasound program that I spoke about earlier. One of the first in the nation to do it. We've been published in many medical journals about what we're doing in the field, taking care of the citizens of Douglas County. And so we do believe it is in the best interest of our community to have us to continue to provide fire protection. We request approval of our amended service plan in support of continuing high-quality service to the community well into the future. And I'll open up for any questions you might have.
Thank you so much for that excellent presentation. Any questions for the applicant?
Is it Deputy Chief Adams?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm looking at your map here on, so you kind of cut through Chatfield Reservoir, is that right? And that's why Roxborough is West Metro Fire?
Yes, so Roxborough is West Metro Fire, and it presents somewhat of a challenge on us with Sterling Ranch growing as much as it is. So originally, when we looked at where are we going to put a station down there, we had talked about moving a station, and our plans tell us that it's not going to be able to do that. So Sterling Ranch, we're looking at how do we build a station down in Sterling Ranch to cover that growth down there. But yes, the Roxborough area is covered by West Metro Fire. We do routinely provide automatic aid to them. So if a call comes in, they'll call our dispatch center, and we'll send the same amount of units to assist them in the incident.
Okay. I just remember going through all those changes when it was Parker and as you've changed, and I think you've done an amazing job. The board members, thank you for being financially responsible. I mean, this was a very impressive presentation, so thank you. Have you been to either Arapahoe or Jeffco yet?
So we've done both the planning commission meetings, and we have both Arapahoe County and Jefferson County are next week for our hearing with the county commissioners.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Teal?
No question, sounds good.
So, I mean, no doubt, South Metro Fire Rescue is a significant hero in our community, provides a lot of really significant benefit. Thank you for spending your entire career there. I'll tell you, I ran into a gentleman by the name of Ryan Knutson in the community over the weekend, and he said, hey, you need to come out and take a tour. So I'm thinking about it, and I'm seeing the leadership here. If we can set up a tour for the commissioners to come by, I'd be pleased to do that. But
we'd love to have you.
Well, I'd be honored to come out. I did notice in the packet, I mean, I read through the service plan, no doubt we appreciate South Metro Fire. What is the change? I didn't see a red line in the packet.
The district is not operating on a traditional service plan currently, so it's really a full amended restated service plan. That's why there's no red line in the
It's
packet.
a brand-new service plan, really.
The way we do exist, because it's an existing district.
Right.
They were operating on, it's called a statement of purpose.
Oh.
And so just based on the year that they were established prior to really the formal service plan process.
So specifically, and maybe legally, what will the changes effectuate? Are we just memorializing based upon the size and scope of South Metro now?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Anything else, Chris?
I have nothing to add to that. That's my understanding as well.
Okay, great. Well, I don't have any other questions, and if the board doesn't have any other questions, let me open it up for any citizen comment, either in person or online.
Well, you know, I'm going to
I
comment.
have no online comment.
I put the three of it.
No online comment. With that, I'll bring it back to the board for any further discussion. I see distinguished Renee Anderson wearing her South Metro Fire hat today. Renee, did you want to add something?
I just want to thank you for reading through that, the summary packet that the staff spent all that time creating to kind of memorialize, which is what a good part of what we're doing here, so that everybody can see how we got here and where we are at this point and how big we are and how much we do for the community. And I couldn't be more proud to be on the board here with South Metro and work with the staff and our legal counsel. That's it. Thanks, guys.
Renee, thanks. I'll bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
So I have a motion to approve a resolution approving the amended and restated service plan of South Metro Fire Rescue Fire Protection District.
Well, as I said, good job on the presentation. Looks like it's appropriate. I'm in favor. Second.
Okay, so we have a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 3-0. Congratulations and good luck in the other counties. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Let me know when that tour is. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to item 3D, which is a resolution adopting amendments to the Douglas County Zoning Resolution, Section 3, Agricultural 1, Section 4, Large Rural Residential, and Section 36, Definitions. Heather Scott, Principal Planner, presenting for staff. Hi, Heather.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Heather Scott for representing Community Development. I'll make my presentation brief today. The request before you this afternoon is an amendment to the Douglas County Zoning Resolution, project number DR 2022-005. The request is to create a unique definition of equine and large animal veterinary clinics or hospitals in Section 36 definitions, and also allow them as principal uses in the Agricultural 1 and large rural residential zone districts. Per zoning resolution, Section 109, the board shall evaluate the proposed amendment, referral comments, staff report, the Planning Commission recommendation, and public testimony, and shall approve with modification, table for further study, remand to the Planning Commission, or deny the amendment proposal. The review process included several work sessions with the Board of County Commissioners. It went out on a referral of 30 days, and then it went before the Planning Commission on February 6th. The Planning Commission hearing was held and unanimous recommended approval of the amendments. There was one member of the public there in support of this new amendment, excuse me. This is the current zoning definition of veterinary clinics. It does not distinguish between the type of animal or the scale of use in the Agricultural 1 or LRR zone districts. In order to allow for equine veterinary clinics in the Agricultural 1 and LRR zone districts, we have offered a second definition, which now separates out and specifically focuses on equine and livestock. The definition would restrict the type of animals as well as limit the scale of the operation to no more than 12 treatment stalls. The equine and vet clinic hospitals were added to sections 3 and 4 of the zoning resolution as principal uses in conjunction with the approved site improvement plan process. Staff sent this proposal out on a county-wide contact and referral with over 500 respondents. A summary of the referral responses are in your packet. A few referral agencies asked for clarification on parts of the review process. The Happy Canyon Ranches HOA indicated that the amendment could negatively impact the rural character of their community and felt that the county should not keep changing its zoning resolution. Staff notes that the vet clinics and hospitals are currently allowed in the A1 and LRR zone districts, but under a use by special review. This proposed amendment would take it and make it a little bit more of a streamlined process, and instead of going through the USR, it will go through a site improvement plan process, which is administrative. Staff will still assess everything. It still goes out on a referral, and we would still evaluate it against all of the requirements in the zoning resolution. Staff conducted a public workshop located here in this public room, and no citizens attended. This slide sets forth the parameters from the board's determination on zoning resolution amendments as outlined in section 109.05. And that concludes staff's presentation. I am available to take any questions you have at this time.
Heather, thank you for that presentation. Any questions for staff?
I have none. Thank you for your work on this.
Yeah, no questions. Good work.
Yeah, outstanding job. So with that, I'll close, or I'll open it up for any citizen comment, either in person or online. Is there any citizen comment?
We do have.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Thank you, Commissioners. Kelly Tischer, I'm a member of the equine veterinary community. I just wanted to speak out in behalf of the changes. As an equine veterinarian or in large animal veterinarian, it's challenging to find a zoning place to fit in most city, county, and other statutes. So just wanted to say good job to the commission to having the staff put this together, and good job to staff for doing it. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment, for spending your time with us, sir. Any additional citizen comment? Okay, I'll bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
Well, thank you, Dr. Tischer, for lending your voice to this effort. Obviously, your establishment is one of the, real, significant large animal practices, I think, in the country is appropriate to say. But this wasn't really meant for you, actually. This was meant for many of your colleagues that operate much smaller operations that, we do see, as you said, have a difficult time finding appropriately zoned areas in cities or counties. And I think we had a large animal practitioner veterinary practitioner who came before the board and, let us know that it's a labor of love, perhaps as much as a commercial endeavor, a profession. And it just struck me that if there's any place in the country that should be open and welcoming of large animal veterinary services, it should be Douglas County, Colorado. We're set between two of the largest metropolis areas of our state. And this should be a place where, people can have horses, can still do cattle ranching, and they should have appropriate veterinary services present at any time. So if it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve a resolution adopting amendments to Douglas County Zoning Resolution Section 3, Agricultural 1, Section 4, Large Rural Residential, and Section 36 definitions.
Second.
So there's a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? I will just add that this is kudos to Commissioner Teal. This is good commissioner work. We spend a lot of time on a variety of boards and certainly doing a lot of land use and business hearings, and you identified a need in our community and took the time to focus on good work and get something good accomplished for our citizens. So kudos to you for that great commissioner work. I'm glad that we're here today. And again, thank you to Dr. Tischer and your community for the support. Any further comments or discussion?
I would only thank you for the kind words, Chair, but I think we made Heather and Jeanette do all the heavy lifting on this one. So thanks, guys. I appreciate you bringing this one around for us.
We have awesome staff in Douglas County. Thank you. So all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that passes 3-0. So with that, we'll move to item 3E, which is a resolution approving the issuance of bonds by the Douglas County Housing Partnership, a multi-jurisdictional housing authority, to finance the Meadowmark project solely for the purpose of satisfying Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, repealing action heretofore taken in conflict herewith. I was told in law school not to use herewith and heretofore, so I don't know who put that in there, but and authorizing officials of the county to do all other things necessary or advisable to complete the transaction approved in this resolution. Jen Eby, Assistant Director of Community Services, presenting for staff. Hi, Jen. And I'm going to ask, we've got IT on staff over here. I'm just hoping that maybe for these items, if we can have IT prepared and manning the podium to make sure all of the presentations get online, that might help our staff.
All right, well, there's empty time. So I'll just say after my 20 years of experience in the software industry and working with IT companies, maybe we, do a reboot of the system or at least turn the off switch off and on.
It's working.
Sarah did not laugh, and unfortunately, I was really going for a laugh from Sarah.
Technology.
Oof. Yeah.
Right, are you good? Yeah.
Sarah, thank you. Jen?
Sorry about that. Okay, good afternoon, Commissioners. Jennifer Eby, representing Community Development. So the request before you today is to adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance of $35 million in private activity bond, or PAB, by the Douglas County Housing Partnership, or DCHP. The purpose is to finance the development of 200 multifamily senior housing units at Meadowmark in the town of Castle Rock. This hearing is solely to satisfy Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986. On November 17th, 2013, the intergovernmental agreement between Douglas County, Castle Rock, Parker, Lone Tree, and DCHP was amended. The purpose of that amendment was to grant DCHP the authority to issue, manage, and preserve the PAB assigned to Douglas County jurisdictions. Meadowmark LLC requested multifamily PAB for this project. So the property is located at the northeast corner of Timber Mill Parkway and North Meadows Drive, shown here in the town of Castle Rock. A 200-unit facility is planned on site. 100% of those units will be for income-eligible senior residents aged 55 and older. 10 of those units will be available to those with incomes at 30% or below the area median income, and the remaining 190 units will be available to those with incomes at 60% or below area median income. So on March 24th, 2022, the DCHP passed an inducement resolution for $35 million in private activity bonds. And because the property is located within Douglas County and the Board of County Commissioners is the highest publicly elected body, it is in your purview to authorize the issuance of the PAB. Approval of this resolution creates no debt or liability for the county, the state of Colorado, or any other political subdivision, and will not give rise to a fiscal liability of DCHP, the county, the state, or any other political subdivision, or charge against their general credit or taxing powers. It is staff's recommendation that the Board of County Commissioners approve the resolution authorizing Douglas County Housing Partnership to issue up to $35 million in PAB for this project. This request complies with county approval standards and policies. This concludes my presentation. Staff, as well as Artie Lael, the Deputy Director of DCHP, and the DCHP Bond Counsel, John Bales, with QTech Rock, are available to answer any questions you may have.
Jen, thank you for that. Any questions for staff?
I have none, thank you.
A couple questions for you, Jen. So you said that there's, even though these are public activity bonds, these are bonds, loans, but they won't, there's no liability that's going to fall on the county.
That is correct.
Okay, and then you had a map of the area up, and I'm still pretty familiar with a map of Castle Rock. So even though this site is within the town of Castle Rock, they're not going to be obligated to any liability? The town is not?
That's also correct. They will also not have any liability associated with this.
Okay, and then lastly, again, it's within the town. Why are we seeing this as a county approval as opposed to coming before the Castle Rock Town Council?
So the Douglas County Housing Partnership is not an elected board. Because Douglas County because the Board of County Commissioners is the highest elected officials within Douglas County and as part of the Douglas County Housing Partnership, that is why we brought it to you for your approval.
Okay, so because the Housing Partnership kind of operates under a charter from our board, we have this authority?
Correct.
Okay. Artie, I will spare us all about my my standing joke about senior developments within the town of Castle Rock.
If you want, just walk across the street, 6 o'clock, it'll be approved by town council.
Oh, okay, very good. Okay, very good. Thanks, Artie. Appreciate it.
No questions. Thank you, Commissioner Teal. Okay. With that, I'll open it up for the applicant's presentation. Artie, did you have anything additional for us? Okay, great. Let me open it up for any citizen comment, either in person or online.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, thank you, Troy. And with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
I have a motion to approve a resolution approving the issuance of bonds by the Douglas County Housing Partnership, a multi-jurisdictional housing authority, to finance the Meadow Mark project solely for the purpose of satisfying Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986.
Still holding off on my standing joke about senior developments in the town of Castle Rock. Providing senior services and specifically housing facilities is for, Artie, for a couple decades there was sort of the town industry in Castle Rock. So it's something that on my 6.5 years on the Castle Rock Council is something that we always took very serious. And at the same time, I think we approved a good number of senior housing developments that obviously invited new members into the community, but also serve the existing senior members of the community. And so I do second and very much am in favor and urge my colleagues to vote yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Teal. So we do have a motion. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that passes 3-0. Congratulations. Thank you for being here with us. Absolutely.
We'll get back to that standing joke later, Artie. Promise.
And thanks for all you do. So with that, we'll move to our final item for today, at least in item 3. It's item 3F, an amended easement agreement and new easement agreement on Sandstone Ranch between Douglas County and Perry Park Water and Sanitation District. The amended agreement will eliminate or limit numerous existing easements that were agreed to on the Sandstone Ranch Rural Site Plan. Dan Dirtz, presenting for staff. Hi, Dan.
Commissioners, Dan Dirtz for Open Space and Natural Resources. Staff is requesting the approval of an amended easement agreement and a new easement agreement on Sandstone Ranch. The agreements are between Douglas County and Perry Park Water and Sanitation District. The purpose of the easement agreements are to provide Perry Park Water and Sanitation District access to water rights it owns on Gov Creek. The approval of the amended agreement will eliminate or limit numerous existing easements that were agreed to with the Sandstone Ranch Rural Site Plan. The approval of the new easement agreement provides access from the amended easement areas to operate the district's water rights as required under Colorado law. This exhibit shows Sandstone Ranch. It's in the southwestern portion of Douglas County. This exhibit shows the easements that were agreed upon with the approval of the now vacated Sandstone Ranch Rural Site Plan. It's kind of dark, but you can see all the kind of the fingers that are coming off of there, as opposed to the newly amended agreement, which is basically a straight shot from kind of where Perry Park Water and Sanitation's line is out to where Gove Creek is. COSAC heard this item on December 15th and voted 8-0 to recommend that this project be approved as it meets the following objectives of the 2030 Parks, Trails, and Open Space Master Plan shown on this slide here. And this concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions you have for me at this time. The attorney for Perry Park Water and Sanitation, Ashley Zahadi, as is Chris Geiger, Esquire, whom is the county's consultant on the project, are available online for any questions. Michael Gerstner, who is Perry Park Water and Sanitation District's engineer on the project, is also present and here in the audience to answer any other questions as well.
Dan, thank you for that presentation. And thank you, sir, for being with us for so long today. I know it's been an extended hearing. Any questions for staff?
I have none, thank you.
So Dan, this looks to me, I mean, is this all part of the cleanup that we have been doing administratively?
Yes, sir.
Sandstone Ranch was originally, gosh, I think it was platted even for residential development when the county acquired it, and then we're pursuing it as open space. So this is just more of that administrative cleanup.
You
Is
are
that
correct, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Notice that there's something a little different going on, Dan.
Trying to look more like you, sir.
Well, it looks darn good.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other questions for staff?
No more questions.
Okay, with that, I'll open it up for any citizen comment, either in person or online. Is there any citizen comment?
Commissioner, I have no online comment.
Troy, thank you for that. And with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or motion.
I'll go ahead, if it pleases the board, make a motion to approve an amended easement agreement and new easement agreement on Sandstone Ranch between Douglas County and Perry Park Water and Sanitation District. The amended agreement will eliminate or limit numerous existing easements that were agreed to on the Sandstone Ranch Rural Site Plan.
Second.
So there's a first and second on the floor. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
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 Aye, and that motion carries. So thank you very much. The next land use meeting, public hearing, will be held on Tuesday, March 14th, 2023 at 2:30 p.m. We are adjourned.